The stage, the Honorable Dr. Ben Carson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for your courage to be here, because in the society that we live in today, it takes a lot of courage to say that you're supporting President Trump. And, you know, it's really quite interesting how people have tried to manipulate people and how to intimidate people and change their minds. This has been going on since we've been in America. You know, you go back to the days of slavery, you know, and in a lot of the states there were more slaves than there were owners. So what did they do? They had to divide the slaves. So they told the ones in the house, you're better than the ones in the yard. And the ones in the yard, you're better than the ones in the field. And then after slavery was over, the light-skinned ones, you're better than the dark-skinned ones. And on it went, trying to divide people. Today, they say, if you are a conservative, then you are somehow an Uncle Tom, you're a horrible person, you're a demon. What a bunch of crap, you know, but, you know, it's been going on for hundreds of years. Things that are happening, think for ourselves and be missionaries. Go out and talk to your family, talk to your friends, help them to realize, because see, if all they're doing is looking at certain media, they don't even know about these things that we just talked about that he has done. And so they can perpetrate this horrible image of him being a bad person. It is absolutely not true. I work with him all the time. He's a wonderful person. He's become a good friend. You remember during the campaign when we were having a debate, and I couldn't hear my name. I came out, I stood there, I was waiting to hear everybody else gleefully walk past. He was the only one who stood with me until they straightened it out. That's the kind of person that our president is. He is my friend, and he will be your friend as you get to know him. Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Community is unbelievable what's happened. It's unbelievable. Democrats bowed at the feet of special interests and trapped your children in failing government schools. You look at the schools.
President Trump attacking Democratic mayors today while he was here in Atlanta, saying they are failing the African-American communities. His event downtown kicking off an outreach campaign for black voters with about 400 people in the room at the Georgia World Congress Center to hear him speak.
Drive up here today?
Yes, sir.
How come?
Because I wanted to support Trump because he's the greatest president America and especially black people has ever had.
And why do you say that?
Because he opened the prison houses.
I love him. He's a superhero. That's the way I see him.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
The president is now on his way back to D.C., but will be heading south again tomorrow. He will attend the Alabama LSU game. The president's visit comes 12 days before Democratic presidential candidates meet at Tyler Perry Studios for another debate. Joining me now live from the Georgia World Congress Center is 11 Alive political analyst Dr. Andra Gillespie. Andra, you just heard President Trump speak about this campaign, Black Voices for Trump. Talk about why this demographic is so important to this campaign for re-election.
Well, I think it's really important that President Trump chose to launch this event here in Georgia. Georgia has become electorally more competitive in the last decade, as evidenced by the narrow margins in both the presidential and gubernatorial elections in recent years. And so given the fact that this national strategy that both Democrats and Republicans have to take will involve perhaps contesting states that have previously not been contested in recent memory, it's not surprising that President Trump would try to reach out to African-American voters to try to shore up his overall support in the state where he won by a narrow margin in 2016.
Perhaps not uphill battle. The latest NBC poll last month saying 81% of African-American voters in Georgia not approving of the way the president's handling his job in office.
And not only that, historically, since 1964, African Americans in national elections have voted overwhelmingly for Democratic candidates. So the general rule of thumb is that Republicans can expect to get about 10% of the African American vote. That was about true in 2016, and we would expect that that's still going to be the case in 2020.
Georgia, the epicenter right now for politics in many ways. Talk about the significance for our state that the president and the vice president visited today, and then the Democratic presidential candidates all coming to town within just a couple of weeks of today's visit.
Well, I mean, it's sort of this narrative of the fact that elections are becoming more competitive here. So Georgia has 2 Senate seats that are up next year, so that's always going to bring a lot of attention to the state. Democrats have said for the last few years that they intended to make Georgia blue, and they are succeeding in making it more purple. And so for that reason, President Trump and the Republican Party can't take votes in this state for granted from anybody from any background. And I think they came here with the intent of showing that. I also think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of really prominent African-American Republican surrogates live here. Herman Cain is one of the co-chairs of this new venture that was announced today. Bruce Lavelle, his national diversity chairman from 2016, lives here. Alveda King. Many of these people were pointed out in the audience today, so it's also not surprising that President Trump would come to their home turf to announce this outreach effort.
All right. Dr. Andra Gillespie, thanks so much for the time.
Up! Lock him up! Lock him up! Lock him up!
Well, I think he came to Atlanta to draw some attention. Atlanta is a preeminent city for civil rights. It has been thus so. This is the birthplace of Dr. King. This is the birthplace of the lunch counter movement. This is why he's here. It's just another 3-ring circus to bring attention to him.
Impeach and remove! Impeach and remove! Impeach and remove!
President Trump is here. I'm disgusted with his behavior, with his selling out to Russia on everything, trying to get Russia involved in our election again, and Ukraine. He's a coward for not trying to win in the normal legal way, and I hate almost everything he's done.
We're here to protest the divisive policies that Donald Trump has taken against African Americans, the broken promises, and just the vitriol that has exploded under his administration. So we're sending a message in the birthplace of civil rights that those policies aren't welcome here. And if you really want to have a real engaging conversation with African Americans, reach out to the NAACP. We have an agenda that we would be willing to present to you in public if you really want to engage with black people.
Remove! Impeach and remove!